What's good? What's good? This is Phil once again, giving you the latest chapter of my top 10 fantasy list. Today we're going to do my top 10 quarterbacks going into the fantasy season. As always, feel free to subscribe or like down below. Feel free to comment, agree or disagree. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the back and forth. So feel free to drop a line underneath and drop a comment as well. So without further ado, let's get into this list. We're going to start off with honorable mention, and the person in honorable mention is Russell Wilson for me. They lost Doug Baldwin. Their offensive coordinator loves to run the ball now, so that's pretty much going to be a heavy run scheme for them. Russell Wilson doesn't really run for yardage anymore. He pretty much just scrambles to create more time in the passing game. And there's no doubt that, in my opinion, that Russell Wilson will be efficient and he'll play very well, despite what offense he's in. But I don't know if his numbers are going to echo that, and I don't know if the numbers are worthy of a top 10 positioning. Based on his reputation, I'm sure he'll find a way to be productive and put up good numbers. But that left him just outside the top 10 for me, in my opinion. Starting with number 10, we're going to go to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan has so many weapons: Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Freeman, Austin Hooper, a solid offensive line. Dirk Cutter is the offensive coordinator. He loves to throw the ball all over the field. So all that adds up to Matt Ryan having a very, very productive and good top 10 worthy fantasy season. His projections for next season are 4,689 yards passing, 31 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Going into the number 9 position, we have Jared Goff from the Los Angeles Rams. Jared is a beneficiary of a Sean McVay offense. They have 3 thoroughbred receivers: Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods. They have, when healthy, the best running back, in my opinion, in football, in Todd Gurley. And also, they have a very good offensive line. They have a pretty solid defense. So all that adds up to Jared Goff having a very, very advantageous position and putting up very, very big numbers going into this upcoming season. The projection for him is 4,870 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. That touchdown total, don't be surprised if he's closer to 40, because I think that that offense is so prolific and so potent. I think he's going to be able to put up some really, really big numbers in that offense, especially this year, because he has been improving. Every year, if you notice, his numbers are going up. The more confidence he's displaying in himself, and the more confidence Sean McVay is having in him by letting him use more of the playbook and putting him in better situations to throw the ball downfield. All right, going into number 8, we have Cam Newton, Carolina Panthers quarterback. A lot of people forgot about how good Cam actually is. Before the injury last year to his shoulder, he was having a MVP caliber type season. He really got his completion percentage up. Christian McCaffrey helped him do that, dumping the ball down, checking down, and taking the safe pass rather than forcing the ball down the field. He has 2 young receivers, DJ Moore and Samuel, that have really stepped up their game and are getting rave reports from the Panthers training camp this season, that they've been playing very well. He also gets a security blanket in Greg Olsen back. So Greg Olsen's old and he's slow, but he's Cam Newton's security blanket. Whenever he needs a first down, you bet he's going to throw it to Greg Olsen, and they're going to pick it up. They have a very high completion percentage to each other over the years. So look forward to Cam. Plus, Cam runs the ball as well. A quarterback that's mobile, rushing yards and touchdowns, that's a bonus in fantasy. That's an advantage. It gives you more because you get more points for rushing than passing. So, it should be interesting going into next season for Cam. I'm predicting that he's going to have a very, very big season. His projections for next season is 3,912 passing yards, 27 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The rushing totals are 535 yards projected and 5 touchdowns. Cam, he likes to run. They said he's going to make a more conscious effort to slide and get out of bounds to avoid unnecessary contact. But nonetheless, he's going to pile up those rushing yards because that's what Cam does. They tried to take it away from him before, and he wasn't as effective. So they let him run now as long as he tried to stay safe. So like I said, Cam should have a good season. Number 7, Carson Wentz, quarterback from the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz gets a rap that he's injury prone, and he is to an extent. But there's so many weapons in Philadelphia. Doug Peterson's a great play caller. Carson Wentz has has potential to be a great quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. The only thing is the health. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a great quarterback. So all the tools are there. They have a great offensive line. They have a good defense. They're a Super Bowl contender this year, in my opinion. So all that adds up to Carson Wentz, if healthy, having a MVP caliber season and putting up big numbers in fantasy. His projection is 4,381 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He also is projected for 220 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. With all the weapons they have in Philadelphia, you can look for Carson Wentz to the 35 to 40 touchdown range. I feel that confident in their offense. So, feel free to draft him with no hesitation. It's all good in Philly. It's always sunny in Philly, like the show says. So, it looks good in Philly for this year. Going into the 6th position, we have Drew Brees from the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees is old faithful, man. The older he gets, he just keeps getting better with age. Alvin Kamara, monster. Michael Thomas, monster. Ted Ginn is a good downfield threat. You also have Jared Cook at tight end. It was an upgrade from last season. So Sean Payton calling plays. They just continue to reinvent themselves offensively, spread the ball around to the different targets, add the different formations. They keep the defense guessing. They're just a very, very good offensive team, and all that equals up to Drew Brees managing all that and having a really, really big season. So his projections for next season are 4,441 passing yards, 32 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Drew Brees doesn't really run, so I'm not even going to that. But all in all, great season for Drew Brees. Number 5, we have Russell Wilson. Not Russell Wilson. He's honorable mention. We have Baker Mayfield from the Cleveland Browns. I know you're thinking it's only his second year in the league, but with the addition of Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry still there, them having the connection they have, David Njoku with all the potential he has, Nick Chubb in the running game, Kareem Hunt coming back after, I think he has an 8-game suspension, but he'll be back after that. The quarterback coach who Baker is very comfortable with now is the head coach. They've worked together and came up with a very good game plan of things that Baker's comfortable with and things that make the offense more efficient. So I think that all that added up together equals Baker Mayfield having a breakout season, and the Cleveland Browns having the potential to be a very, very good team with a shot to make the playoffs. So actually a shot to win the division, because I think they're that good. But we'll see how it all pans out. But all in all signs point to Baker Mayfield has a very good season coming up. His projection for next season is 4,668 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Going into the number 4 spot, we have Aaron Rodgers. He's bad man, gunslinger, whatever else you want to use to describe Aaron Rodgers. He's a bad dude. Last year, he had a kind of a down season. His touchdown-interception ratio was great as well. But him and Mike McCarthy weren't really on the same page offensively, and he threw a lot of passes away. I think he broke the record for most throwaways in a season. I think with an improved defense and the young receivers coming into their own, Valdez-Scantling, and the old faithful Devontae Adams, maybe Jimmy Graham can step into the time machine 5 years ago and come out and be productive again. Whether Jimmy Graham's productive or not really doesn't matter, but he's an added bonus at this point. But with Devontae Adams and Scantling and a couple of other young receivers they have, I think that they'll have a really, really good season. Aaron Rodgers will have a bounce back year and be back in that MVP caliber where he's more accustomed to being. All that being said, his projections for next season is 4,638 yards passing, 31 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He doesn't really run. He just slides around the pocket to make time. So I'm not really going to give you any stats on running because he doesn't really do that much. Number 3, Deshaun Watson, Houston Texans. He's in year 4 now, so actually year 3 for him. But he's really starting to come into his own. Last year he's really starting to come into his own. I think that'll continue this year. He gets Fuller back, which is a big bonus for him because that's the downfield threat, which should help take the top off the defense, which will free up the mid-range for DeAndre Hopkins, which is his wheelhouse. They also have Kiki QT, who's a very good, solid slot possession speed guy. Lamar Miller is mediocre, but he's a serviceable running back, and he catches the ball fairly well out of the backfield. They also added Duke Johnson, which should help them out a lot in the passing game as well, which will raise up Deshaun Watson, give him that safety blanket, and hopefully raise up his completion percentage. All that adds up to, and the most important thing, they improved the offensive line, which they really needed to, because last year Deshaun Watson was running for his life. He still had a really good season, but with some protection, his season could be even better. So I'm looking for a very, very good another breakout season for Deshaun Watson. His projections for next season: 4,120 yards passing, 28 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 494 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. He does like to run the ball. He does need to pull a chapter out of Cam Newton's book and kind of scale back a little bit, slide, get out of bounds, and not take unnecessary hits, because he's not a very big guy, and those hits could take their toll as the season goes along if he's not careful. So he does need to work on that. But all in all, no hesitation, Deshaun Watson's a beast. Number 2, Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, he's having a little problem with his calf in the preseason. Hasn't really worked out much in training camp. He has most of his receivers are coming back, so he doesn't really shouldn't have chemistry issues with them. They seem to have built a very good offensive line around him, protecting him. If he can stay healthy throughout the whole season, he's going to put up big numbers. And you can draft him with no hesitation. He also scrambles, doesn't get a whole lot of yards, but if he'll scramble for that occasional first down, so he'll give you some rushing yards, maybe a touchdown or two. But his projections for next season are 4,715 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions, which is a very good season. They're a contender. They improved their defense. The offense is very good, very solid, and you can look for them to continue to gain ground. I think that division is going to come down between them and the Houston Texans. I think they'll be fighting back and forth for that division all season because both teams are very good. They're loaded top to bottom, and they're very solid on both ends of the ball. So we'll see what happens there. Which leads us to the number 1 fantasy quarterback. Big surprise, surprise, surprise. Pat Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs. Although in my opinion, I don't believe he'll throw 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards like he did last year. Well, he might throw 5,000 yards. We'll get into the projection later. But I don't think he'll throw 50 touchdown passes. But if he throws 40, 45, which is I think he will, he definitely has the potential to live up to the hype from last year. Last year was ridiculous. One of the best quarterback seasons ever. They're bringing back. They lost Kareem Hunt, of course, but they have Damian Williams, who's a very solid, comparable back that can help out in the offense. Travis Kelce, best tight end in football. Tyreek Hill is a beast. Andy Reid is just, he has bad play calling sometimes, but he seems to put his players in a good position most of the time. Needs to work on his clock management a little bit, and needs to improve his postseason decision making. But for the most part, quarterbacks and running backs under Andy Reid go to another level. So looking for that to continue with Pat Mahomes this season. His season projection is 5,022 passing yards, 43 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions, 288 yards rushing, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Like I said, look for Pat Mahomes in the 40 to 45 range. I don't think he'll throw 50 again. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I don't think he will, because that offense has a lot of potential, and their defense still is really bad, so they're gonna have to score a lot of points to win games. So he's gonna have to throw the ball a lot. So I think the stats will still be impressive, and he's still worthy of the number 1 fantasy pick as far as quarterbacks go. So that's pretty much all I got for today. Feel free, like I said, to drop a line below. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to like. Follow me on Twitter at PhilGrayson6. Follow me on Instagram at Fanatic_Phil. And as always, have a great day. See you when I see you. Peace.